My name is Mike Pfaff, and this is my YouTube channel, Living in the Illusion. Now, last time we were together, we talked about how the I takes information from what's outside of us, converts it into data that the mind brain can use, and then transmits it down the optic nerve to the brain. And from there, the brain interprets the information after it's filtered. So I want to expand on that and look at it a little bit different and begin to understand that our senses, while each one is a magnificent instrument, their main function is just to convert outside energy into inside data that the mind and brain and central nervous system can use. So to explain that a little bit more, I'm going to take my whiteboard and divide it into 3 sections. Maybe I should have done that before, but I'll do it now. So I got 3 sections. Now, the first section, this one over here, I want this to represent outside. What's outside of us, of you? What's outside of you? This here, I want to divide this into 2 sections. One is more or less initial processing of the data that comes from the outside. And then from the processing to the creation of what the data means for us. So, this is going to be fun because I never did this before. Now, if you look at this part right here, I'm going to put a little gap in between here. This little gap between the outside and what's inside of the processing side of you is your 5 senses. I'll just put 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. Sight, hear, feel, smell, and taste. Okay? So let those represent the magnificence of those organs. Each one, and you can tell there are people that spend their whole life just learning about vision, about the eye. And when you get cataracts, how to change them, how to focus the eye better through glasses. If you have certain kind of problems with the eyes, they know how to fix them. So that the eye does the job it's meant to do, which is pass information from the outside to inside of us. And your auditory system, your ears, doing the same thing. Touch, smell, and taste. They all do the same thing. Basically, they take outside information. Nothing in the outside gets inside of you. You probably knew that. Nothing gets inside of you through the senses. Now, when you might get stuff inside of you other ways, like getting a sliver inside of you, but data, none of the data out here gets inside of you. None of this data out here gets inside of you. It's converted at this interface between your senses. So you get different information here, electromagnetic and chemical information, that the mind, brain, and central nervous system can use. Can't use this information directly. It has to be converted. And basically, you have to interpret inside of you what this stuff means. Now, before we said everything out here, no, that's wrong. Everything is outside of you. So we said everything is out here. Everything. Every object you can think of is out here. Everything that you can think of that is not an object, I don't know what that would be. Maybe the wind. Well, in a certain way, it's an object. So maybe it's just all objects out here. But it's objects that you can't hold in your hands. So everything is out here. The good, the bad, the ugly, the terrible, the awful, the sublime, the beautiful, the serene, the perfect. It's all out here. Everything is out here in an unmanifested form. That's why they say there's nothing new under the sun. There's another way of saying everything's out here. And we take that everything, because as everything comes together, it's all energy, and it's all energy fields. And the energy fields move into each other, and sometimes they enhance one another, and sometimes it's destructive. See, because our senses are not designed to see the everything in an unmanifested form. They're only designed to see objects. And they're not objects. They are energy that is coalescing and bumping into each other and moving around. And it's the differences that we see. What do I mean by differences? Well, if everything's the same, if everything is white, we don't see nothing. We got to see differences. We pick up patterns of differences. Now, this everything, unmanifested everything that's out here, has differences when the energies move into each other. Then we have differences. Then we see stuff through the senses. We don't experience it directly. It's like neurons in the brain. They don't touch each other. The axons and the dendrites, they don't touch each other. There's always a gap, synapses, between what's going on within the brain. Nothing touches. And it's the same way with the outside. Nothing touches. It's all energy. And when we see a ripple in this energy field, the senses pick it up. Just like that. So you got an eyeball out here. I drew an eyeball last time. Wasn't such a good eyeball. But we didn't use it that long because I took the eyeball out once we got the information inside. Your senses are the same way, all of them. They're magnificent instruments, but their only job is to move data inside in a form that we can interpret it. That's why the gap, just like in the brain, just like the synapses within the neurons, within the dendrites and the axons in the brain. So we really don't touch the outside world. We think we do. You say, oh, I touch, I can feel that. I can feel this in my hand. You don't feel this. You feel an interpretation of this, but you're not touching it. That's an interesting thing. You know what happens when atoms touch each other? Get atomic explosion. The closer they get, all of a sudden they fly away. They can't touch each other. Same way with this outside. This everything. If it's everything, it's infinite. Because it's everything. When you got everything, you got all there is, and that's all there is. And sometimes this is called the all. Because it's everything. Interesting. But we don't think about it that way. We don't think about it as unmanifested everything. We think about it as objects. And that's what we're going to talk about today, how we make objects. Now, last week, or last video I made, I gave you a hint of how we do that. Now, that's why I divided this into 3 sections. So the information comes inside of you, whatever it is. You have to have some event happen here. Event, ripples of energy coming together in specific form, specific patterns. And then your senses jump right on it and begin to interpret, transmit, change that data so that we can know about it inside. So everything comes inside through the senses, and in a certain way they're all connected. All of this goes into some kind of a holding tank. So what goes on in the holding tank? Interesting question. The data comes in, okay, and then what happens to it? Well, as we talked about last week, the first thing that happens is we make a determination as to what is important for us of the information. Because your senses can take in quantities of information that you can't use and don't know what it is. And it's not important. So it's taking in, it's not making any judgment. None of your senses make a judgment if what they're hearing, what they're tasting, what they're seeing is good or bad. They just take the information. Whatever's there goes through the eye, through the ear, in the nose, on your tongue, next to your skin. That's the way it goes. So you're getting all that information. Well, what are you going to do with it? What if it's not important? How do you know if it's important? Now, last week we talked a little bit about that. So what I'm going to say shouldn't be too much of a surprise. Your past experiences, what you know, what you believe, determines what information is important for you in this moment. So outside, ripples of energy in various forms. And then you take the information in, and it is all the information, and then you make a determination which part of that information is important for you. So the first thing you do is you filter the information. And you use your past history, which is only memories. You use your past memories to determine what's important for you in the present moment. So out here is the present moment. Whatever's happening, whatever that energy is doing. And then you look at it through your experience and make a determination which part of that information is important for you. So it's a filter. Now, where do you keep the information that is important for you, which is your past experience? Nobody knows. So because nobody knows, I'm going to use a term called the subconscious mind. I'm going to say all of your memories, all of your experiences that you've had throughout your life into the womb is held in your subconscious mind. So we have this locker, this place. We don't know where it is. We got a name for it, the subconscious mind. And in there are your memories. All your memories. And it keeps growing. That's why older people are smarter than younger people. Well, they're not always the most smart. By that I mean they might not be the fastest at reading and writing or mathematics. But they know more stuff because they've done more things. And they have more memories. So they're going to use their memories as you use your memories, and you put them down here, and you search through that, and you make a determination if it is good or bad. If it's worthwhile to save based on your past. So the present is always determined in your mind by the past. There's nothing new under the sun. So when scientists say they discovered something, was always here. Now, rather than saying they discovered something, they might be more accurate to say they uncovered something that was already here, because everything is here. And then when there is a ripple, when the energies come together in specific ways, we see the ripple. We experience the ripple. And our senses take the information inside. First of all, first thing they do, they convert it. They take the energy from the outside, convert it into electromagnetic and chemical messages, information that we can use on the inside. And when we filter that information, some of it is going to fall out because it's not important to us. Just isn't important. It kind of falls out. And then the rest of it, now we got different data here going into this other part. Okay? So as it goes into there, the data is, now this is filtered data. You got everything out here, you filter it down to what you can handle inside. So you take this data, which is less than what's coming in, less than what's coming in. And then you make an interpretation of this data. Again, most of it is based upon what you really know. And inside here, I'm going to make that as the brain, because last time we did that, we looked like a little brain, and that looks like a bean, kind of like a kidney bean, where you got your senses out here are attached in here. So I'm just breaking them away to show you what's going on inside. I don't know what's going on inside the eye, how it makes the transition to get information in a form that we can use it inside. Same way with auditory or kinesthetic or olfactory or gustatory. They got experts that know how those senses work. I don't. But I do know you get information out of them. I do know that the information that you get out of them is determined by your past, by your memories. Now, if you've got a lot of negative memories, what kind of data are you going to get out of here? A lot of negative data. No matter what, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the terrible, and the serene are here. But by the time you get through filtering it through your past, if you've got a not so good past, you're going to end up with data not so good. If you had pretty good past, pretty good childhood, and went on, had a lot of fun, you're going to have different data here. And it is this data that you're going to use inside of you, this is a thing. You're going to use this data inside of you. Now it's going through this part. This is your world. This is your world. This data goes in here, and you create, through your interpretation, all of the objects that you think are out here. Out here is data. Out here is energy. In here, through your interpretation, and it's called a hologram. Inside of you, now I'm saying inside, but we don't know where the inside is. We think it's in here. We can't prove that. Matter of fact, just as a side idea, sidebar, I guess they call it, you can't even prove you got a brain in your head. Not really. Until you open your head up. Until you observe it. Until you measure it, you can't prove you got a brain in your head. Interesting kind of thing to think about. So, and you're going to say, well, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. What do you mean there's no brain in my head? How do I do all these things? How do I talk? Yeah, but you can't prove it. You can't prove there's a brain inside your head. The only way you can do that is to measure it. The only way you know something is real, and what makes it real, is that you can measure it. If you can't measure it, which is touch it with your senses, you don't know if it's real or not. Interesting. So, inside of you, you make a hologram based on this information, which is filtered and manipulated information, and you make your world in here. Here's your world inside of you. So we have the outside everything. We take it in through our senses, which convert it into electromagnetic and chemical information that you can use inside. And you, absolute first thing that you do is you make a determination. Is this information important? Is it relative to me? Is it meaningful? And if it is, you pass it on. If it's not, it gets dropped out, it just disappears. And you don't use it to make your world. So, inside of you is your world that is made by a lot of different things that are going on inside of here, inside of your processing, and then you make the world here. How come you think it's out here? No. 3 weeks, I think it's 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, we talked about projection. And your conscious mind, when this is created in here, your conscious mind, which is so slow, projects it onto this field, outside field, and you think it's outside. You think it's outside. Because the conscious mind tells you, well, it's outside. That ball that you created in here, that red ball the dog is chasing, is a projection, and it's projected out here. And you think it's out here. The senses don't think it's out there, but you do. The senses knows it's only energy out here. It's only taking in energy. It makes no judgment if it's good or bad. Makes no judgment if it's awful or terrible. You do that in here with the data you end up with after it's filtered. So your world, and yeah, I might have said that before. If you look at some of my other videos, you might say that you create your world. Your world outside of you. This world that you think is outside of you is a direct reflection of what you're creating inside. The inside of you that you create, the world that you create, the hologram that you create, is a reflection of what's out here. Now, how do you change this? Now, if you have a lot of bad, your life isn't good. You keep losing jobs, relationships, nobody wants to talk to you. You got a bad life. How do you change that? Look at the model. Everything is out here. What is this data? It's filtered data. What's it filtered through? Your past memories. If you want different data here, which will create a different world, what do you got to change? I'll step aside so you can see the line. What do you got to change? Well, I'll answer for you because you got to. Oh, I'll take a little sip of tea. What do you got to change? Your past. Your past. What's your past? Memories. What are memories? They are your interpretations of past experiences. Are your interpretations of past experiences the events that caused them? No. All your memories are interpretations that you made based upon older memories. This creation here will end up, on a moment-to-moment basis, will end up as a memory in your subconscious mind and become part of the filter system. It is your filter system that determines your world. You want a different world that you can project out here? Change your memories. Oh, you can't change your memories. You can't change your memories. They're real. Nah, they're not real. They're interpretations that you made up. They change every time you move them out of the subconscious mind into your active mind. They're not real, but you believe they are. And that's why you believe you can't change them. Oh, we have a lot to talk about yet. So what did I point out this time? Everything is outside of you in an unmanifested form. What you believe your world is an inside interpretation, is a manifestation of the data. Outside, unmanifested, everything. Inside, manifested world that you created. You want another world? You want a different world? You want a better world? Change what you're holding inside of you. You don't have to change everything. You only got to change the negative parts. Why? Why you got to change that? Well, because that's what's forming the world that you're creating right now and projecting. The inside interpretation of your world is, this is a reflection of it. This is what you think is out here, what you're creating inside. So if you want to create something else, you got to change your memories. And when you begin to understand your memories are make-believe, you can begin to shift your world, change your world, have a better world. So, how do we do that? Well, that's what we're going to be playing with as we go on in some of these discussions. So, I really don't know what we're going to talk about next time, but it's going to be something around helping you see a different world, feel a different world, hear a different world, a more loving world, a more positive world, as you let go of your negative past, which isn't supporting you at all. So, until we get together again, be good to yourself, have fun, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.